We are seeing more extremes of weather, Prime Minister, with global warming, and in fact, devastating natural disasters. I mean, a few years ago, we had biblical floods in Queensland, and today you see China facing menacing and damaging floods. Some call this the super typhoon. And Southeast Asia is not spared either. Now, do you think our region is spending enough on infrastructure to mitigate some of these problems of climate and also rapid urbanization? And I have a second part to that. What role can AIIB play?
Well, I think if you took a 100-year view of problems and 100 years' time, will there be our great-grandchildren who will say, I wish my great-grandparents had done certain things? I have no doubt the answer is yes. But from the great-grandparents' point of view, with many other pressing considerations, I think for many countries in Southeast Asia and probably in many parts of the world, climate change is not the top item on the agenda. Even for Europe, which puts it quite high, I don't think climate change is the topmost item on the agenda. Certainly Brexit ranks higher. And that's a reality. So as elected governments responsible for this generation, but also for the future ones, we have to try and strike a balance and implement policies which this generation will support, but which will benefit future generations. And there are a lot of things you have to prepare for climate change. There's going to be extreme weather, drought is one thing, floods, as you described it, another. Temperature extremes, which is going to have public health consequences. Rises in sea levels, which is going to inundate or at least put at risk of flooding many coastal populations. There are things you can do about these if you have lead time and the resources and the attention. You invest, you can build the systems, but if you are distracted, well, then they will come upon you. In Singapore, we are focused on this. I mean, we're looking at our carbon emissions. There's a commitment in the Paris Agreement to cut down your emissions and to peak at a certain point, and we've got a plan to do that. We are focused also on sea level rise. The official forecast is 18 inches in 100 years, and I think if it's 18 inches in 100 years, we can all relax because it's completely manageable. But I don't think it will be 18 inches in 100 years, and it will, my guess is that it's going to turn out faster and higher than is predicted, and we have to be prepared to raise our platforms, our land reclamation, our new land being, or new projects on existing land have to be built to a higher standard so that if sea levels rise more than that, we will be ready. Certainly our new airport buildings, which we are building, the new terminal, will be to a higher standard. In terms of rainfall, I think droughts are going to be a problem for us in Singapore. We have to prepare for our own water supply, which for us has always been a strategic and high priority issue. And we are putting a lot of resources into that. For example, one of the reasons we now have an adequate water supply in Singapore is because we've invested in recycling water, used water, wastewater. You purify it, you can use it again, industrial purposes. In fact, you can drink it. And with investments in the R&D as well as investments in the plants, we have now reached a point when our used water recycling is about 30% of our water supply. Mm-hmm. And it can be more, and we will do more. We're going to spend more on R&D. We've already spent, I think, over 600 million over the years, developing membranes, techniques, processes to make recycled water. And for the next phase in our R&D, our next R&D program for the next 5 years, we're going to spend another $200 million. We also have put a lot of effort into closing the water cycle. In other words, every drop of water, it starts from the sky, it comes in, you clean it up, goes through human use, it goes out dirty, you clean it up, come back, close the cycle again. And we have a deep tunnel sewage system, so that instead of having lots of little sewage treatment plants, you have a long, deep tunnel, collect all the wastewater. It comes to one end of the island, quite far underground, processed, cleaned, reused, pumped back into the system. We've built one of these. We're going to build a second one at the other end of the island, this one on the western end of the island. It's going to take us, I don't know, 10, 15 years. It's going to cost us $6.5 billion. And we will close the loop. So you clean the wastewater, you reuse it. You have the sludge, you process it, you incinerate it, you generate energy from it. The energy goes back into running the wastewater plant. So in Singapore, nothing is wasted. But it requires foresight, planning, determination, and you need the resources.
And resources, yes.
I think a project like the AIIB will be able to provide funding for infrastructure, which is badly needed by many countries in Asia. Some of it is for utilities and for water, but a lot of it will be for other purposes, public transport, housing, urban development. We ourselves, as a young nation, we had World Bank funding, and it helped us. And I think AIIB will help to supplement their World Bank funding, and perhaps in a more responsive way.
Indeed, and there are so many contributing countries that are present here. And I guess countries also, cities, that are also looking for funding.
Yes, indeed, and other parts of the world will have such arrangements too.
Yes.